The yellow creamy thing is actually the red lentil soup. And I think most people aren't even aware that lentils come in colors. So when I discovered these red lentils, I decided to experiment and see what they were about. And what I found, and this is my own opinion, I don't think they taste anything like the brown or green lentils, whatever color the normal ones are. And I think, to me, the brown lentils taste almost grainy and like beany. And the red lentils, they're creamy and they're not beany tasting and they're not grainy. And the only thing I do to them, and honest, I take my electric pressure cooker, I put 2 cups of the red lentils that are dried. I don't even do anything to them. And I keep them in the bottom of the pan in the pressure cooker, and I rinse them really well. If there's a trick to be had, that's it. You got to rinse it until the water runs clear. And sometimes that can be 8 or 9 rinses. So most people will only do a quick rinse. And I think because maybe how they have to get them to market, there's a lot of dust on them. And I don't mean like dirt dust, but dry dust from just the beans clanking into each other to get them from point A to point B. So once you take all that off, then I put 6 cups of water. And then I put olive oil, just enough. I know you've asked me this before, how much? Just enough that there's a thin film across the whole top of it. So you're not putting 3 cups of oil in it, but neither are you putting only a couple tablespoons. Then I put, depending on how big the bay leaves are, say medium-sized bay leaf, I probably put 5 or 6 medium-sized ones. And if they're little, more. And I put the top on, put the timer on high for 30 minutes, and I let it naturally vent. So I put that up in the morning, and then what do I care how long it sits around all day? It keeps warm. The lid is on, so it's not going to dry out. It keeps the steam inside of it, so you don't lose any of the minerals or the flavor or the steam, the liquid. And then when I'm ready, I take off the top and I season it with a little bit of salt to taste, or you don't have to if you can't or don't want salt. And that's it. I ladle it. And honest to God, I think I've mentioned this before. I've had friends that I've shared this with, and they sit there and say, no, there's something else in this. There's bacon in this. No, there's, and they start naming all these things. That's it. That's all I put in it. It is so delicious. So that's that. Then what else would you like to hear about? The parsnip fries, one of my super, super, super favorites, as you know. I rant and rave about these things. Okay, so I take a bunch of parsnips and I use a vegetable peeler. And I take off, peel them. And then I put them on a cutting board, and whatever size you want, but, whatever you think you want your French fries to be sized to. And while I'm cutting them, I put them in a pan or a bowl, whatever, and I'll just drizzle a little olive oil, and I toss them so that each one is very lightly coated with olive oil. And then I arrange them on a shallow cookie pan with parchment paper, and I have already popped them. Then I sprinkle them with Himalayan pink sea salt, and then I pop them in a very hot oven that's been warmed. It's heated already, preheated to 550. So it happens to be the highest my oven goes, and depending on what size you cut them and how hot your oven gets and all of that, I would say count on about 20 minutes, and it could be more. Like today's fries, I happen to cut them a little fatter than I normally do, or a little bit longer. So it probably took more like 25 minutes, not 20 minutes. And then I just take them out and put them in a serving platter, bowl, whatever. And I dare you to not pop one in your mouth while you're going from the oven to your table. They're like addicting. And then the calamari, the steamed calamari, as you know, I don't do anything to that. All I do is put a bay leaf in the bottom of a shallow pan. I put the piece of fish on top of that. I put a little water in the pan. I put the lid on, very low flame. I check it because you don't want to overcook it. And as soon as I think it's like still a little translucent, I like at that point to cut it in bite-sized pieces and leave it in the water with the lid on, let it steam just a minute or two more until it's finished cooking, and then I spoon it into a dish. And I always put a little bit of the liquid into the bottom of the serving dish because it keeps it moist. And if you overcook this, I promise you won't like it. It gets very leathery, as you have found out. So I don't put anything else on it because the fish comes out of the ocean. The ocean is salty already. And I find, to my taste, that it doesn't need any more salt. But, maybe you could put garlic powder on it, or, grate fresh turmeric, or grate fresh ginger root. Anything like that would be fine on it. Although I don't think it needs it myself. I just don't. But certainly you could. So that was my meal for tonight, and I ate too much. I'm so full. I am certainly not deprived at all.
So,